ECM 2022, the movie I refuse to call the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It proves once and for all that a chainsaw-wielding maniac can't get away from gentrification. We pit a San Francisco entrepreneur and her little sister versus a chainsaw-wielding 6-year-old man who misses his mother figure. Now, if you hoped that this movie was going to be a continuation of Tobe Hooper's classic emotion grabbing, scene stealing. It's a great horror movie. It brought us our first final girl. It started the slasher craze. If you thought this movie was going to be a continuation of that and make you feel something, you thought you were going to be scared again like you were back with the first Texas Chainsaw, you are going to be severely disappointed. Except for the first 2 minutes and 38 seconds of this film, while we were being introduced to Elsie Fisher's character. In the gas station from the very first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we get an in-film documentary introducing us to what happened to Sally and what she's been doing for the last few years. We get a documentary that has the same kind of grit, the same grindhouse feel, but it only lasts for 2 minutes and 38 seconds. We learn Sally became a Texas Ranger, looked for Leatherface for 40 years, couldn't find him, and basically everybody gave up because he was wearing a mask, so nobody knew who he was. She drew a composite and never talked about it again. And that's about it. That's as far as Texas Chainsaw Massacre feelings and vibes that I got from the original. The only time I felt that was that one small scene, and it didn't have anything to do with any of our characters in this movie. It was something to help people who had never seen the original or people who weren't too familiar with it. It was something to help catch them up to speed. And in my opinion, that was the best part of the movie. After that, it goes downhill pretty quick. So we're introduced to what's her name? Melody and Lila. Melody is a San Francisco entrepreneur who's gone in business with her restaurant partner Dante and buying a small town, Harlow, Texas. And they basically plan to auction this town off and make it the next Austin. They talk about food trucks, art galleries, and restaurants. So basically, we're seeing Leatherface and his mom get pushed out of their town and out of their city. Nothing really here that gives you Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes. Like I said, there's maybe 2 scenes in the whole movie that give you Leatherface vibes even. It's one scene that happens to Dante, and the other scene what they do to Sally. And the fact that they brought her back just to do her, they did her so dirty. I'm so disappointed. They did her so dirty though. They brought back the epitome of a final girl. They brought her back, and we all thought they were gonna give us the Laurie Strode. No, they okey doked us, gave us the old 42 fake, and we got nothing but sheer disappointment. I seen a lot of people were trying to compare Halloween 2018 to this, or they're gonna try to compare this to Halloween 2018. You can go ahead and stop. You can stop all the comparison right now, because they dropped it on this one. I would say this was a cash grab, but this is a Netflix movie. I don't really know how this works, how the money works, but we'll see the numbers once it gets released. I'm doing this right now at it's like 4 in the morning, 4:45. My roommate's about to wake up for 15 minutes for work. I've been awake since 12 since I watched it. It's been playing on my TV ever since. I'm giving him all sorts of views for a movie that's terrible. But I don't think this should have been a Texas Chainsaw movie, in all honesty. It's nothing. The only reason why it is because it's got Leatherface and they brought back Sally. The character Melody you don't really feel for. They kind of, from the get-go, you're kind of rooting against her. It's kind of this, I don't know, the relationship she has with her sister. It's like she forced her sister to be in that whole situation. You feel bad for Lila, which, I mean, maybe they did that on purpose, and if they did, that's one thing they did good. They made us feel something for one of the characters. You feel sorry for her because the whole time she doesn't want to be there. And I mean, even Lila, she doesn't even look like she wants to be there. It's not a good movie. It's if you're looking for a bunch of kills, over the top gore, some gruesome stuff, then yeah, this might be your movie. But as far as Texas Chainsaw Massacre goes, this isn't it. This ain't the one. Ah, man. Like I said, it's just sheer disappointment. There's only a couple real Leatherface-esque scenes, and they ruin one by his chainsaw goes through a pipe and Melody gets covered in shit or in poop. Sorry, I don't know. But yeah, she gets covered in shit, and so it's just the seriousness of the scene gets taken away immediately because she's covered in poop. And then she runs on a bus, and you all know the scene from the preview, and that scene, it's been beat to death on the trailers with the advertisement. We all knew what was going to happen. And like I said, it's just, I think that one scene, they probably killed more people in that one scene than they did in any of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies than they have as a whole. But it was pointless. There was really, that really didn't further the story too long. All it did was get rid of all the people that came in, that the investors brought. Just, it took out all the investors that Melody and Dante had brought in to buy the empty spaces that they were potentially selling. The only character that you kind of feel any sympathy for, at least that I did, was Richter. He's a character that's introduced at the very beginning of the movie when Dante, Ruth, Melody, and Lila are all at the gas station. Whenever we get a fill in to what happened, they introduce us to Richter. He's this guy that he has a gun on his hip, and Melody starts talking about how he's overcompensating for something. And so the whole time they have this confrontational dynamic. And when they get to the ghost town, Harlow, where Leatherface is, they find out he's their contractor. He's the one who actually did the upkeep on all these properties for him. And so straight out the gate, they're being an asshole to the guy that made their properties sellable. And he's like, I believe he's the first death he's the first death back at the ghost town. And he gets it. Oh no, he's either the first or the second death at the ghost town. And he gets it pretty bad. It's the one that you see in the trailer where she's under the bed watching it. And it's, let's just say, if you've seen The Walking Dead, it gives you some Glenn vibes for sure. And it was gnarly, over the top gore, like I said, but you felt bad for that guy, but he wasn't even he wasn't really one of the main characters. He was just someone to help push the plot along, someone that was in the town. And as for Leatherface, you feel bad for him because his mother character, her and him are living in this orphanage that she had been at for some 50 years, and come to find out that she actually owned the place, but Melody and Dante kicked her out of her house. They got the cops in. The cops kicked her out. It was like some kind of misunderstanding. She actually had the deed to the house in her office, and Melody found it whenever they were going through the house after she had a heart attack, which is what sets Leatherface off to begin with. And it's just like, they kicked this old lady out of her house. The one person who's protecting everybody from Leatherface, they kick her out, and while they're kicking her out, she has a heart attack. It's just, like I said, it's not a Texas Chainsaw movie. They could have found a different killer and insert random killer here, and you got a different movie, a whole new franchise. It's, oh man. And then in the final scene, as they're typing in their coordinates in the Tesla to get back to San Francisco, we think everything's gonna end all happy and well. Lila puts on Sally's hat, confirming she's the new final girl. They open the sunroof, roll down the windows. Leatherface grabs Melody, pulls her out of the car. She does something like this, and she gets her head chopped off. And that's how the movie ends. I mean, they got handed the keys to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and essentially they did no better than do your thing, cuz. And I mean, I like to watch horror movies more for just horror movies. Like, as you can tell, like I said, the first one, it was just raw emotion. It made you feel certain ways. It made you think certain ways that you necessarily weren't comfortable thinking. Whereas this one was just you couldn't really wait for it to be over. Um, it it was over really quick. Nothing really stood out to me other than this girl running around covered in doo doo. Like it's it's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. I watch horror movies not just to be scared and not just for kills, but I like to pick up on like the undertones of things, like the satires or the commentaries, like what Scream's so good at. Just the way they treated her was so bad. Look at how, speaking of Scream, look at how they treat Sidney Prescott. Look at how Laurie Strode gets treated. It was just a disappointment from all angles. I probably won't be rewatching this anytime soon. And anytime I do a Texas Chainsaw Marathon, this movie along with 3D, it's not going to be in there. Like I said, 1.5 stars. Do yourself a favor and don't watch it. Um, you're not missing out on anything at all. I hope everybody has a good day, and I'll do another video, maybe breaking this down more, but I don't see the reason why I should, to be honest with you. I'll probably go back and do the one from '74 just to get the taste out of my mouth from this, and I hope everybody has a good one. I'll check you later.